What is going on, online fitness coaches? Welcome to another episode of the Change Lives, Make Money Online Trainer podcast. This is the #1 show for online fitness coaches who are trying to grow successful online business. In today's episode, we're talking about how every no is one step closer to a yes. And this is a mindset for sales, but this is also a mindset for success. Now, before we get into today's episode, I want to remind you guys that in literally like 13 days, I'm giving away $1,000 cash. If you want to be entered to win $1,000 cash, all you need to do is screenshot any podcast episode, share it to your Instagram stories, tag me at BMarkFit, let me know that you're tuning in, and you're automatically entered to win $1,000 cash. Let's talk about mindset today, online fitness coach. Let's talk about mindset. We're going to talk about the mindset going into sales calls. We're going to talk about the mindset going into business, and we're going to talk about the mindset going into life. But before we do, I want to tell you guys a story. So Cole Da Silva is one of my best friends. And when Cole first started online coaching, one of his biggest dreams was to get sponsored by a supplement company. And he told me, this was way back when Cole had just started his fitness career, when he just started hiring me as an online fitness coach. He's like, man, I really, really want to get this online, I want to get an online presence, and I want to get sponsored by a supplement company. But when Cole first started his Instagram, he didn't have a big following. He didn't have the best physique. And he wanted to get sponsored by a specific supplement company, but he didn't really have anything that the supplement company would want necessarily. So he didn't have a big social media following. He didn't have the physique, but he really, really wanted it. And so my advice to Cole, I was like, just apply. Apply for the supplement company. The worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to say no. So Cole applies for the supplement company. He really, really wants to get sponsored. And they come back with a letter and they're like, oh, sorry, we're not taking any athletes right now. So Cole comes back to me, and this is when I was his online fitness coach. And he's like, man, I just applied. They said no. They said they're not taking athletes. What do I do now? I was like, wait 30 days and then apply again. So he waits 30 days and he applies again. Same thing. He comes back to me. He's like, yo, B, just applied again. And again, they said no. I'm like, cool. I'm like, wait 30 days and apply again. Cole repeated this process for a total of 6 months. He applied 6 different times. Finally, after the 6th time of them saying no to him, the owner of the supplement company gives Cole a call. And he's like, yo, I admire your persistence. He's like, because you're so persistent, he's like, we actually don't have anything available right now for you. We do have too many athletes in your location, but he's like, we admire your persistence so much that we're going to create a position for you. So you're hired. And Cole ended up getting sponsored by this supplement company. Something that he'd wanted for literally years. And I love that story because it's a testament to this idea. Now let's talk about you, online fitness coach, in your sales, in your content, and in your ability to get your online business off the ground and get your online business running. And we're going to start from the ground up, because I think that we're going to talk about sales first, because I think it's the easiest place to understand this. I think most online coaches expect that every single prospect's going to enroll. And then when every single prospect doesn't enroll, they get discouraged and they're wondering what's wrong with them, or why they can't close anybody, or they think that the market is bad. And it's really easy for online coaches to get discouraged after getting no's on the phone. Right? Somebody says no to you. And I think that no matter how experienced you are as an online fitness coach, it's super easy to get discouraged, to get down on yourself, to wonder what's wrong with you, to, doubt yourself and think that the market maybe isn't buying right now, and to doubt the fact that your program is even worth it. It's really easy to get discouraged. And the problem with this emotion of discouragement meaning you're not sure if it's going to work, or you're getting down on yourself, you're beating yourself up, you're wallowing in self-pity, you're complaining about the market. The problem with that emotion is that when we are discouraged, it prevents us from taking the actions that are necessary to grow our business. Because if we believe that nobody's buying right now, and we believe that we're not good at sales, and we think that the next person that enrolls or that we get on the phone with is going to say no to us, and we're on a no streak, what we're going to do is we're going to self-sabotage our ability to book calls. We're actually going to resist booking sales calls because we don't think anybody's going to buy anyways. In fact, I'm going to go as far as to say that we will resist posting content, because when we get discouraged and we get in a funk and we haven't closed any sales, it comes to a point where we think that online coaching isn't going to work for us, or that people aren't buying right now, or that people don't have the money. And so why would we put out content and produce content for our coaching business if we're operating under this principle that online coaching isn't going to work anyways, right? And so we really need to assess how we react to calls. How we react to sales calls. And one of the things that I like to tell all my clients is that everything is a numbers game, right? Sales is a numbers game. Your Instagram following is a numbers game. Your social media presence, all of it, it's a numbers game. And so out of 100 people, even if you were like, even when you're the best salesman in the world, like let's talk about like high level salesmen, like we're talking like Dan Lok and Grant Cardone, and like we're talking about these really, really high level salespeople, even the highest level of sales, they don't close at 100%. Nobody closes at 100%. And so you have to understand that there's going to be some people that will say no to you on the phone, and that's okay. But I think what happens with most online coaches, I especially see this in newer coaches, but I still do see this in online coaches that have been in the game for a while, like some of my clients that have been in my program for like 6 to 8 months. Sometimes we fall victim to getting discouraged when people are saying no to us, and we start thinking that people aren't buying, or we start thinking that online coaching isn't working. But in reality, you need to understand that not everybody's going to say yes, even if you are an expert at sales, even if you're 100% an expert. And the way that I view sales is like, if you're good at closing like phone calls, if you're good at closing sales, then a good closing rate for an online fitness coach is like 1 in 4 calls. Actually, I would say that's average. Average is 1 in 4 calls. And then a good closing rate is closer to 1 in 3 calls. And once you're excellent, and I would define excellence as like, if you're an online fitness coach and you're in my program and you're doing role plays every single fucking day and you're practicing with a partner and you're improving your sales skills, like once you get to excellent in your sales calls, you'll close 1 in every 2 calls that you book, which means if you book 20 calls in a month, you'll sell 10 clients minimum. Like that's like, I would say that's expert level. Like when you're an online coach, and it can get better. It can get to like 70, 80, 90%, but like over 50% closing rate is really good. But even if you are an expert salesperson, you have over a 50% closing rate for online fitness coaching packages, even when you get to that level, like out of 10 calls, there's going to be a certain amount of people that will say no to you. And it's not like these numbers, like closing 1 in every 2 calls, are necessarily like in order, right? Because how many of you guys, online fitness coaches, have ever had a streak where you sell 5 calls in a row? If you have, just like nod your head, or like 3 calls in a row, back to back to back. You're like, man, I'm on fire. Like shit. Like I just closed this. How many of you guys have ever done that? Like, let me know. Or just like, if you're listening to the podcast, just like nod your head. If you've ever closed 3 calls back to back to back, like that feels good when we do that, right? Like that's like, that's amazing. We feel like we're on fire. We feel like we're rock stars. We feel like we're untouchable. We're like, yo, I could sell ice to an Eskimo. Let's fucking go, right? Like you feel good. And then all of a sudden, but if we get 3 no's in a row, that's where we start to question ourselves. But if we get 3 yeses in a row, like we have to understand that like a no is overdue. Like somebody's going to say no to us at some point. Like even if you're the best, you're going to get somebody that will say no to you, your product, your offer. It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game, right? Eskimos need ice. It's a numbers game. So for me, the mindset that I adopt going in to every person that says no to me on the phone is that every no is 1 step closer to a yes. Every no is 1 step closer to a yes. All of us love the feeling of getting on a call and enrolling a client. It's a beautiful feeling. It's like you get off the call, you sell $1,000 package paid in full, and you're like, for me, it's like, I'm the fucking man. I'm like, I'm amazing. I'm not even joking, you guys. When I do this, when I'll sprint around the house. I'm like, I'm the shit. And I like literally scream. I'm like, ask Kirsten. I do like fucking happy dances. It's hilarious. So like, I know that feeling of like, when I close a call, it feels amazing. But if I attach my self-worth to like whether or not I close a call, that's why a lot of online coaching clients struggle to grow their coaching business, is because when they're closing clients, they're feeling fucking awesome. And when they're not, they feel like they're worthless, like they're a POS, or that they suck at sales, or that they're not good enough. And so we need to get to a point with our sales skills where we're not like, our emotions aren't dependent on the outcome of the interaction, right? Because it's really shitty if you go into a call and if they say yes, you feel like you're on top of the world. And if they say no, you feel like you're a POS, right? That's like a very emotionally unstable life to live. And I'm sure that a lot of online coaches are currently living there. Let me know if that's you. You sell a client, you're amazing and you're on top of the world and you feel like you're on fire. And if you don't sell the client, you're like, I'm a POS. This sucks. Online coaching's terrible. This is the worst. Why did I sign up for this? Right? So we're either super, super high or we're super, super low. And if we can understand that, I'm not saying that we shouldn't celebrate our successes and be super stoked, because I think that emotion is really important. For me, when I enroll a client and I'm really excited about it, I do fucking actually run around my house and I sprint and I yell shit. I get really excited. However, my thing is that I never go too far over to the other side. So I'm never beating myself up and being like, oh, I suck so bad at sales, I'm the worst. It's when I do get a no, I always, whenever I get a no, I always affirm to myself, every no is one step closer to a yes. Every no is one step closer to a yes. Every no is one step closer to a yes. And I always have this belief and affirmation that keeps me in the positives when it comes to enrolling clients. Because if I can take that energy, when I get, here's what you don't want to do, right? When you're in a sales, a business, whatever it is, no matter what you're selling, when you're in sales, if you get a no and you're like, oh shit, I suck at sales, this is the worst, I'm terrible. But then you have 4 more calls booked for the rest of the day, and you go into your next call with a negative attitude because this one person back here said no to you, then that could ruin every single call that you go into. But if you have 4 calls booked throughout the day, the first person says no, and then you should write this down, online fitness coach. And then after the first call, you literally, they say no, and you literally affirm to yourself, you're like, every no is one step closer to a yes. Every no is one step closer to a yes. Every no is one step closer to a yes. And then you get on the next call and you close them. That's a good feeling, right? But that won't happen if you walk into the next call with your negative attitude, because when you get on the call with a prospect, they can feel how you're feeling. Does that make sense? And so we need to be governing our own emotional state, and we need to make sure that we're not getting pessimistic or full of doubt or full of frustration. The frustration is a big one. Full of frustration when we're not enrolling clients. It's every no is one step closer to a yes. And I'm going to piggyback back off this belief, because I also think that okay, so let's talk about getting no's on calls, right? So you get a no on a call, somebody, they sign up for a phone call with you, you get on the phone with them and they say no. I have 2 beliefs, right? So I'm okay, every no is one step closer to a yes. But the other belief that I have is that if you're getting no's, if you're not closing 1 in 3 calls, you should be actively practicing your skill sets on some way, shape, or form. And don't tell me that you don't have the time to work on your sales skills, because then I'll tell you that you don't deserve to make $10,000 a month. And you won't. If you're getting no's on the phone, but then you're unwilling to work on your sales skills, you're going to struggle. And so getting no's is not only do you need to be optimistic going into your next call, every no is one step closer to a yes, but you also have to be aware that if there's something that's broken in your sales process and you're not making the decision to address it, then you're going into each call and we're talking about staying optimistic, right? So I'm all about going into each call with optimism. But if you go into each call with optimism and you keep doing the wrong fucking thing, then you're not going to get anywhere, right? So it's kind of like the fitness client that joins your, is doing 2 hours of cardio a day and eating no carbs, but they're super optimistic about their cardio routine. They're oh yeah, I haven't lost weight yet, but I will eventually. And 2 more hours of cardio and I'll be down a few pounds, and then they don't lose weight and they're okay, just 2 more hours of cardio. It's yes, you have to be optimistic going into each call, and you need to be actively improving your skill sets. You should write that down. Actively improving your skill sets, studying, I've got sales podcasts you guys can listen to. If you're in the 10K Coaching Academy, we do role plays with you guys. We've got Savage Sales role play. And if you're too uncomfortable to do a role play, then watch another person do a role play in the 10K Coaching Academy so that you can see what it looks like to actually go through the sales process. And you can see some things that people are doing wrong, and you can learn from other people's experience. Every no is one step closer to a yes. Guys, in sales and in life, this is a game of optimism. Like, I think that a lot of people lose the fight before they even start. So they'll start their journey, their online coaching business, and then they'll be super excited to get on calls with prospects and change their life. And then the first person that slams the door in their face and says, not interested in your product, it's like, now they're like, shit, like maybe I'm not cut out for this, or, maybe, this isn't for me, or maybe I'm not good at sales, or maybe COVID is true. And because COVID's real, nobody has money and nobody's going to enroll in my product. And we can just get caught up in these stories. But we can just destroy this like self-sabotage and these limiting beliefs by affirming to ourselves that every no is one step closer to a yes, which prevents us from getting pessimistic and keeps us looking at the lighter side so that we can go into the next call with optimism and excitement. Does this make sense? So the affirmation for you guys, online fitness coaches, to take into your weekend or to take into your week, the affirmation to make sure that you're successful on every single call is the next time that you get a no on the phone, which might be today, it might be tomorrow, it might be on your next phone call. The next time you get a no on the phone, I want you to write this affirmation down. Every no is one step closer to a yes. Also, if you're in the 10K Coaching Academy, we want to hear about it. So if you get a no on the phone and you're like, something didn't go your way, like, post in the community so that we can hear about it and be like, every no is one step closer to a yes. And this is what I learned. And let's get some feedback so that you can actually get closer to that yes. All right. So guys, that's it. That's all. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Change Lives Make Money Online Trainer podcast, the #1 show for online fitness coaches who are trying to grow a successful online business. My goal is to change one person's life every single day. So I hope this podcast inspired you and impacted you in some way. Peace, love, protein. Hope you guys have the best day of your entire life. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Let's go.